Hello, my name is Anna Marie Tude, and I would like to introduce you to the part of the computer architecture that consists of registers, memory, and storage as part of my foundation in computing. Just like humans, computers have a brain which is called the Central Processor Unit, or CPU, but unlike the human brain, it cannot make its own decisions and has to rely on a program entered by a human that dictates what actions it may carry out. The CPU then carries out these actions in a sequence to perform basic arithmetical, logical, and input-output operations. If we did not have memory, it would be very hard to run the modern computer. In 1945, John von Neumann, a mathematician, created a theoretical computer design based on the idea of stored program, where programs and data are stored in the same memory. The architecture shows the general framework of a computer's hardware, programming, and data. It is made up of a CPU, a memory unit, e.g. RAM, and input-output devices, or I/O. Read-only memory, or ROM, which remains in the system, is used to start up the computer. The registers are temporary storage locations that store the address of instructions that need to be executed. The memory, or RAM, is the main memory and is used to store program data and instructions. Although it is volatile, meaning that if the computer is switched off, the information goes, so it is important that input-output, or I/O devices are used as memory storage devices. The CPU can only load instructions from memory, so any programs used to run the system need to be stored in the read-only memory, or ROM, which cannot be changed, or if you have a mobile phone, the EEPROM, which is infrequently changed. Standard computers run most of their programs from rewritable memory or random access memory, RAM. Main memory is dynamic random access memory, DRAM. Memory is used to save information during the execution of a program. It can have fast access, both read and write, and is used to save program instructions and data. As you're all aware, if power is turned off, unless you've saved the information you've been working on, it can be lost. Basically, without memory, a computer, and very often a human, cannot function. Here we have an example of computer memory hierarchy, which depicts a small amount of fast memory, or primary memory, that is expensive, a more medium-speed memory and costing less, and slow but cheap memory, or secondary memory, that could be embedded or removable. This mix of different types of memories means that a balance can be struck between cost and speed. A processor register is a quickly accessible location available to the CPU. It contains small amounts of fast storage, although some are specific to hardware functions and may be read or write only. They are normally at the top of the memory hierarchy and provide the quickest way to access data. You may come across the term cache. This is a small amount of high-speed RAM that is used to temporarily hold data in instructions that the processor will reuse. This means that processing can be faster, as the processor does not have to wait for the data and instructions to be fetched from the RAM. Here you can see some of the different types of register for different types of storage. There are others, but these are some of the common ones. So, for example, you can see MAR, memory address register, stores the address of next address or next instruction. Below to IR, interrupt register, which manages the requests from the I/O devices, for example, your printers or your mouse. Storage is used for saving information long term. It should not be volatile, but you will often find that it is usually slower than memory. A computer could, in theory, function without storage, and in fact, early computers had no storage. In 1986, when I used my first computer, it had a huge memory capacity of 8 megabytes. Needless to say, any work that I did had to be stored on a floppy disk. Examples of early storage included punched cards, paper and magnetic tape, and a magnetic drum. Magnetic drums led to the development of hard disk drives. The principle is the same. The surface is magnetic, allowing read and write heads to store ones and zeros, which are initially stacked together. More modern storage includes floppy disks, which shrank in size from 8 inches to 5 1/4 and finally 3.5 inches. These could be damaged easily due to their flimsiness, but the final size was generally made from a hard plastic and more durable. CD/DVDs were initially used for playing music and film, but soon became part of the computer storage solution. These were finally superseded by portable storage drives such as USB pens and SD cards that came in varying sizes and could be used in cameras and mobile phones. Hard disk drives have been around for more than half a century and have both increased their storage capacity and reduced their size. They consist of splitting platters that read and write the data. You can see the platters clearly on the illustration. they have tracks similar to a record, and the preset spin speeds of, for example, 4200 RPM or 7200 RPM mean the faster it goes, the faster it reads and writes. Problems with HDD are that due to the energy it needs to operate, it can get quite warm and overheat, and as it relies on mechanisms such as an actuator ROM to deal with the data, these can skip like a record needle and cause errors. This means that the HDD is more fragile and prone to damage if knocked or moved too roughly. SDD, which use flash memory and therefore less parts which go wrong, is now a popular option for laptops, and although it does not have the storage capacity of HDDs yet, it will not be long before they catch up. The benefits are that they have faster load times for programs, games and applications and films, and they also use less energy than an HDD and remain cooler as well as being less fragile. One of the things that we must consider with computer storage is the fact that although the memory capacity is increasing and sometimes the size of the actual physical object is reducing, you can only go so far. For example, with a micro SD card, it has to be able to fit into a human hand, and therefore that is probably, unless it is embedded in the actual phone, as small as it will become.